You're about to watch a white supercar do something most cars can't: turn a city's lights into a moving mirror. This is the new Ferrari 296 Veloce. And in this metallic white finish, it doesn't just reflect neon and streetlight. It weaponizes it. Every curve catches a highlight. Every panel throws back the skyline. Even standing still, it looks like it's already mid-launch. So in this video, I'm going to break down what makes the 296 Veloce feel so special: design, performance, driving tech, interior, and the details that separate a normal fast car from a Ferrari that looks and feels like an event. The first thing you notice is the stance and proportion. Ferrari has a signature way of making a mid-engine car look compact, yet dramatic: short overhangs, a cockpit that sits forward, and rear haunches that look like they're flexing. On the new Ferrari 296 Veloce, that shape is even more purposeful. The body surfaces are smoother and more sculpted. So instead of lots of random creases, it's all about clean volumes and airflow-driven channels. And that's exactly why metallic white looks so good here. Lighter colors make the designs, shadows, and highlights more readable. So you can actually see the engineering and the styling up front. The face is low and sharp, with lighting that looks modern but not overcomplicated. Ferrari tends to use the front end for two jobs at once: visual aggression and thermal management. The openings aren't just there to look mean. They're there because a high-performance car needs to control heat from radiators, brakes, and the powertrain. And on a wet, reflective road, those front surfaces look even more intense because the reflections stretch and bend across the hood like liquid. It's one of those rare cars where the lighting of your environment becomes part of the design. Move along the side. You see why this car reads fast even at a slow roll. The cabin and beltline are tight. The wheels sit pushed to the corners. And the lower area is visually planted thanks to dark carbon details. Black wheels with yellow calipers is a classic supercar contrast. And on white paint, it pops hard. Your eye goes straight to the mechanical hardware. Even if you're not a car person, you instinctively understand. Those brakes look serious, which means the speed is serious. Now, the rear is where mid-engine Ferraris really show off. That's where the car's mass and grip live. And visually, Ferrari almost always emphasizes width because width suggests stability. The diffuser, vents, and the overall tail treatment aren't just race car cosmetics. Diffuser actually helps manage airflow, leaving the underside of the vehicle. And that can create real stability at high speed. The practical result is confidence. The faster you go, the more planted the car should feel. Assuming the aero is working as intended, let's get into what most people really want to know. What's powering the new Ferrari 296 Veloce and why it matters? The 296 family is known for combining a compact turbocharged V6 with hybrid assistance, meaning you get the character and sound of an internal combustion engine, plus the instant torque and response that electric motors are so good at. If you've never driven a hybrid performance car, the most noticeable difference isn't fuel economy, it's the immediacy. You touch the throttle, and the car responds right now, without that slight delay some turbo cars can have. Ferrari uses the hybrid system to fill gaps in power delivery, sharpen response, and create a smoother, more controllable surge. In real-world terms, that means overtakes are effortless, and acceleration feels continuous. There's no waiting for power to build. It just stacks on harder and harder. And because the engine is mounted behind the driver, you get that sensation Ferrari does better than almost anyone. The car pivots around you. When you change direction, it doesn't feel like a heavy object you're forcing into a corner. It feels like something that wants to rotate and bite into the road. The Veloce name suggests a sharper, more track-focused interpretation. Typically, that means tighter calibration, faster, transient response, and more aggressive chassis tuning, even without listing exact numbers on a spec sheet. You can talk about the kinds of upgrades a Veloce-style model usually brings. Revised suspension settings, more rigid bushings, altered damper tuning, and potentially aero tweaks that increase stability. The point isn't just faster lap times. The point is clarity steering that tells you what the tires are doing, brakes that are easy to modulate, and a chassis that feels predictable at the limit. That's what makes a Ferrari feel expensive when you're actually driving it. Speaking of steering, Ferrari typically aims for quick ratio steering with a very direct front end. In plain language, you don't need to turn the wheel much to get the car to change direction, and that makes it feel alive. It also means the car can feel intense if you're not used to it, but the trade-off is precision. When you're flowing through corners, small inputs translate to real movement, and that's a major part of the Ferrari connection. With modern stability systems in the background, you can have that sharpness without the car trying to punish you for every mistake. Braking is another area where supercars separate themselves. Big carbon ceramic brakes, often paired with performance tires, don't just stop the car quickly. They stop it repeatedly, and they resist fade under hard use. For everyday drivers, the takeaway is simple. The car feels like it has infinite stopping power, and the pedal stays confident. And visually, those yellow calipers aren't just decoration, they're a signal that Ferrari wants you to notice the hardware doing the work. Now let's talk about the sound and sensation, because that's where Ferrari lives. A turbo V6 hybrid might sound like it's less emotional than an old naturally aspirated V8 on paper, but Ferrari tunes the experience, the throttle mapping, the gear changes, the exhaust character, the way the car responds when you lift off and get back on power. The emotional part isn't only volume, it's the rhythm, the way the power arrives, the way the transmission snaps through shifts, and the way the engine note climbs when you commit. If the car feels eager, sharp, and dramatic, it doesn't matter how many cylinders it has, people will call it a real Ferrari. The transmission behavior is also a huge part of what you're seeing in these rolling shots. Dual-clutch gearboxes can shift incredibly fast, and Ferrari usually calibrates them to feel crisp and intentional. When you're accelerating, shifts feel like clean punches rather than soft transitions. When you're cruising, it can smooth out and behave more like a refined Grand Tourer. That dual personality, comfortable when you want it, ferocious when you ask, is exactly what modern Ferrari buyers expect. On the technology side, driving modes are effectively multiple personalities. In calmer modes, the car can soften throttle response, relax the stability controls, and make the suspension more forgiving over imperfect roads. In the more aggressive modes, the car tightens everything up. Throttle becomes sharper, shifts become more assertive, suspension firms up, and the stability system allows more movement before stepping in. The key here is that you don't need to be a professional driver to enjoy it. You can have fun safely, because the car is constantly balancing. Let the driver feel it, but don't let the driver lose it. Step into the cabin. Ferrari interiors today are very driver-centered, more like a cockpit than a lounge. The steering wheel typically carries a lot of controls because Ferrari wants your hands to stay in place, especially when driving quickly. The screens and digital displays bring a modern feel, but the best Ferrari interiors don't feel like a gadget store. They feel focused. You get the information you need, the materials feel expensive, and the layout makes you feel like you're sitting in something engineered, and not just styled. Material choice matters more than people realize. Carbon fiber isn't only for looks. It gives a lightweight, structural vibe even when used as trim. Alcantara and high-grade leather aren't just luxury, they also improve grip and reduce glare. And in a car like the new Ferrari 296 Veloce, small detail stitching, switch feel. The tactile click of paddles add, tough to the sense that you're dealing with something built without compromise. Let's come back to the exterior finish. Because metallic white on a Ferrari is a special kind of flex. Red is iconic, sure, but white is harder to pull off because it exposes the quality of surfacing. If the body panels aren't perfect, white will show it. On a well-designed car, white makes everything look cleaner, sharper, and more futuristic. Add metallic flake, and the paint starts reacting to light like it's alive. That's why these clips look so striking on wet roads. You're getting reflections from the ground and from the buildings, plus the paint itself throwing back highlights. It becomes a moving light sculpture, and the wet environment isn't just cool visuals. It actually emphasizes the car's shape. On dry pavement, you see the car. On wet pavement, you see the car twice. Once as metal, once as reflection. That doubles the drama. Low camera angles make it even better. because the reflection stretches toward the lens and makes the car look longer, lower, and more cinematic. So what's the unique selling point here? Why would someone choose the new Ferrari 296 Veloce over other high-performance options? The answer usually comes down to balance. A lot of cars can be brutally fast, but not many can be fast, beautiful, technologically advanced, and still feel emotional. Ferrari aims for a sensation. The car should feel light on its feet, reactive, and special at any speed. Even a slow cruise should feel like an occasion. The steering, the response, the visibility of the front fenders. The way the car rotates, these are feel qualities you can't capture in a simple horsepower number. Another selling point is usability. Modern Ferraris are engineered to be driven more often than people think. Yes, it's a supercar, but it can still behave like a refined machine in normal traffic, smooth gearbox behavior, manageable ride quality depending on setup, and enough driver assistance tech to keep things civil. That matters because the best supercar isn't the one you only admire in a garage. It's the one that makes you invent reasons to go drive at night, just to see the reflections roll across the hood again. If you're the type of buyer who cares about presence, this car delivers without needing loud colors or exaggerated add-ons. Metallic white with black accents is clean, modern, and aggressive in a very controlled way. It doesn't look like it's trying too hard. It looks confident. And that kind of confidence is what makes people turn their heads, even before they understand what the car is. As we wrap up, the new Ferrari 296 Veloce gives you that rare mix. It looks like the future, but it still feels like Ferrari dramatic. Focused and built to connect driver and machine. Whether you're watching the reflections flow across the bodywork, hearing the implied punch of its power delivery, or appreciating the precision in the details, the message is the same. This isn't just transportation. It's design, engineering, and emotion, packaged into one moving piece of art, if you made it this far. Tell me one thing, would you spec this car in metallic white for the pure mirror shine effect? Or would you go classic Ferrari red? And if you want, I can also write a second version of